Minds.
Welcome to the
Juno Awards.
Welcome to the Juno Awards.
The 40th anniversary of the Juno Awards. Arts and Minds looks back at the early years.
The mood is you're a prairie kid in a prairie band coming to the big city.
Oh, we were all terrible little snots about the whole idea of awards.
I was astonished, frankly, at, I performed the Junos, and the next day I just could not walk anywhere.
The Juno Awards were founded in 1971, named after Pierre Juno, the head of the CRTC at the time, whose policies helped kickstart the Canadian music industry.
One, two, three, four, five!
40 years later, the Junos have become the premier award show for Canadian music. This special edition of Arts and Minds, part 2 of the Juno Awards, the early years.
I think it changed with CDs. When music went digital, and you see, up to that point, you had to have a guy that loved music. He was mortgaging his house to start a label. Jack Richardson mortgaged his house to produce the Guess Who. Jerry Moss and Herb Alpert mortgaged their mother's houses and started A&M Records and Almo Music in a garage. And their first hit was Herb Alpert playing Lonely Bull, the Tijuana Brass. That's when you believe in the music. And Jack Holtzman starting Elektra. There was a folk label that had Judy Collins and then The Doors. Do you know what I mean? Then just because of belief in music, it was a growth industry. Suddenly when everything went digital, you didn't really have to sign a new band because everything that had been done before you for 30 years was automatically put out in CD. You maybe did a new jacket, or you did the old jacket, or you did something new, and it sold in the millions again, because it already sold in the millions, just that everybody was told this is the new pajamas to wear, and there's this new thing in your car called a CD player, and you don't have to worry about all these cassettes and tapes that the kids pull the tape out in the car, all these things. This is a foolproof thing, and it's called a CD, and put it in. So everything sold again, and I made a lot of money again, but the record labels, who basically ripped us off, made all their money again 10 and 20 and 30 fold. And so you get guys in there who are sons of somebody who knows somebody, and they're not really music guys. They've never had a music lesson. They can't hear a song on piano and voice and imagine that it's a hit song. They have to hear a final, finished production. So you've got to hire an orchestra to play these guys a demo. Then that being said, they then commercially made the playlist smaller and smaller. Just like when FM started, FM radio in the late 60s, DJs would say, here's a whole album. I was just in Australia and I saw this guy. Here's John Mayall live with Eric Clapton. You'll never hear this anywhere. And he plays the whole album, and it's midnight, and you stay up all night to listen to this album. They don't do that anymore because radio exists for one thing: to sell commercials.
I saw the global industry absolutely flip into a more corporate, less oriented on the consumer and the word on the street in the late 1970s. And in my view, it happened because the initial people who were in the record industry, the Berry Gordys and people at the head of the record companies, were people who were the quintessential entrepreneurs. They took their money and money they raised from their friends. They started companies. In the late 70s, what happened was that there was a sense that the music business really could be much more profitable if you had real businessmen who studied business. And so you had all these MBAs that started, and lawyers that started getting put in charge of record companies instead of people who were in charge of record companies because they were entrepreneurs and loved music. And so as soon as these guys got into record companies, they started using spreadsheets and asking about what's the package. And I remember thinking to myself, what's a package?
The musicians, most of them, were just happy to be playing and singing, recording, writing. It was their managers that really took the role of their branding and their image. Branding wasn't a word that people spoke about, but everyone at the executive level understood that no matter how brilliant an artist was, they had to be packaged and managed correctly to become superstars.
To me,
folk music, the term implies that some kind of direct connection with a body of tradition. I steal shamelessly from everybody's traditions.
It's okay if you only aspire to making the kinds of albums you can make in your bedroom, with your computer. Then we can all do that. It becomes a folk art, then, like photography has become. And that's okay. But if you aspire to more than that, if you want to make an album with an orchestra, if you want to, record in really good surroundings or with really good equipment, or get really good accompanists to play with you, it takes money. And if you can't sell your stuff, where do you get the money? And I heard William Gibson talk about this stuff one time a few years ago, and he theorized that the 100-year window when you could actually make a living from music, because of the window that opened first with the very first ability to record, has closed. And now, we can expect things to go back to what they were before there was recording, where we'll need to have sponsorship of some kind. And back then it was, from the aristocracy or the church or whatever. Now it would be corporate sponsorship, presumably, because that's who has the money these days. So I hope it doesn't become completely like that, but it may.
Downloading and swapping of songs for free, which is what Napster's all about, amounts to piracy.
That's the end of the music business as we knew it. If you put me and Eddie Van Halen or any classic rock guys in a room with the guy who invented Napster, we would strangle him. He would get bruised, you know what I mean? We wouldn't kill him, but he would get bruised. And you can't stop technology, and the guy was brilliant, and I think there was a big mistake made at that point, where maybe the record label should have went to him and did a deal with him, because later on it took Apple to legitimize that and everybody make money again. If a few years before iTunes and Steve Jobs and Apple, if they had gone to whoever the guy who did Napster was, if they had gone to him or he had gone to the label saying, here's the thing where you can sell your music, and not stealing it and shipping it around free to everybody around the world, we would have a different music business at this point to this day.
The American recording industry has commissioned studies showing that websites offering music to download hurt CD sales, especially among college and university students.
What history shows is that this wasn't just in the music industry, but at the time that the MBAs and lawyers started taking over the businesses, the entertainment business in the United States, the ratio of flops to hits went up. They became way less successful, and that all of the traditional business methods that were supposed to ensure that the businesses would be more profitable started making the businesses less profitable. And by the time you hit the 1990s, and this had a chance to really work through the system, you had a situation where many people believed that the music became less innovative, more imitative, and less vital to the audiences, because simply the people who were the heads of the record companies weren't looking for innovation.
YouTube's a wonderful, method of doing it. How much does it cost to do a video today? Not like it was, like say, when you had to do a $50,000, $60,000, $150,000 video 20, 25 years ago and get out of the hawk. And if you sell direct without going through a middleman, you're getting essentially $7 of the $10 that say that comes in from iTunes.
There's so many new kids with the same dream that I have, and I know there's been this bill C-32 or whatever trying to go through through Ottawa and the legislature and to improve the Canadian music business so we as creators get paid. And I don't see why there's a debate. I don't see it. Because everywhere else, when you want gas for your car, here's the price, pay it or you don't go anywhere. Here's the price for music, pay it or you don't listen to it. There's no other side. How can the broadcasters complain that they have to pay us a performance fee of 2 or 3 cents when they play our song? When in between those songs they're selling commercials for hundreds of dollars for every second? And these guys are rockin' rich and the musicians are poor? There has to be more of a balance there.
When we return, concerns about a changing music industry.
I blamed auto-tune for the problems that we have.
Everybody's attention span is about that big.
I mean, the bar has been lowered.